Morning! I'm excited for today because it's National Banana Bread Day today. You gotta love a good social media holiday. All right, you need to like and comment below today to get in the winning for a prize by liking. Is it banana nut bread or is it just banana bread without the nuts? So the question is, do the nuts belong in the banana bread or not? Growing up, it was called banana nut bread. But that was before we had a world with a problem with nuts. So I'm team nuts. Or your team no nuts in my banana bread. So that's today for the social media holiday. I told you it's exciting one, National Banana Bread Day. All right. Good morning. Cindy here. How do you teach persistence? No, not persistence. That too. Perseverance to a child. They're buddies. Persistence and perseverance, they're buddies. All right. How do you do that? Well, I'm going to tell you two stories, and that will tell you pretty much how I have taught my child perseverance and how my parents taught me perseverance. And I have no idea whether they did it on purpose or they did it by accident. I'll let you decide from the story. All right. So when I was growing up, when you got into the sixth grade, and sixth grade was part of elementary school, you got to start taking band. So it was like your first little trial year to you picked an instrument, but you tried it out to see if you wanted to do junior high band and high school band. So I chose the flute. I chose the flute to play, and I didn't know how to whistle. No idea why I chose the flute. I have no idea. My friend chose the oboe as her choice. So the flute. I got the flute, and then my mom and dad signed me up for private lessons. So I think we had band once a week at school, and then I had once a week private lessons at the local music store, which I ended up having private lessons with my high school band, what ended up being my high school band director. And those are stories for another day. Okay, so I showed up every week for band, and I showed up every week in that small little area, soundproof room at the music studio. If you are from my hometown, you know exactly where it is. And if you ever take music lessons, you know exactly what the little room looks like with the sliding door that you could see into it, soundproof room. You took lessons. So I showed up once a week, every week. So that's 52 weeks, the first year that I played the flute. And you're like, Cindy, I don't understand how this story has anything to do with perseverance. Well, you see, I couldn't play one note. I could not get my embouchure correct. I couldn't get to figure out how to do it. In this process, I learned how to whistle, but I couldn't get a note. I couldn't get enough air in it. I couldn't get this. I couldn't figure it out. So you're like, what? Your mom and dad paid money. They're cold, hard-earned cash every week for you to go to music lessons where you couldn't play one note. My mom loved telling this story. And they're like, yes, they did. They paid for me to do private music lessons, and I showed up for band every week, and I couldn't play one stinking note. One. You know what that taught me? It taught me to persevere. Like my mom and dad had faith in me that I was going to be able to figure this out. It was something new. I obviously had a huge learning curve of things that I needed to figure out. Was the flute the best instrument for me? I don't know. It's the one I picked, so we stuck with it. But they kept showing up. They kept putting their money into the belief that I could figure it out. And I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. Guess what? I learned how to play the flute. I was in band for 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and all 4 years of college, and went to be in band all 4 years of high school, and I did it for 1 year of band. But I did switch to the color guard in high school. But so I did 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, playing the flute, and still playing it in band class in high school. So I learned perseverance. I learned belief and faith in there too, that I didn't give up. So I don't know if that happens nowadays, but I feel like people let their kids quit too soon. You don't have to be my mom and dad. My mom and dad are extraordinary. Maybe a year might have been too long, but it got me a lesson that I've done my whole life. You know how I can do hard things very easily? Because I have perseverance. I know there is another side. Like, I couldn't play a note. I can play the flute. I could probably play the flute if I needed to right now, if I needed to, because the skill is still there. And the story I have to share with my daughter, how we teach perseverance, is my daughter horseback rides. She had a fall off a horse. If you ride horses, you're going to have a fall or 2 or 3 in your life. It's just part of that sport. So our deal and the barn's deal is you fall off, you can shake it off, make sure you're all right and everything, but you will not leave that lesson without getting back on a horse. Because if you don't get back on the horse, then you quit. That opens your mind and your mindset into quitting. But you just have to get back in the saddle and say, I fell down and I literally got up. There's a song there. I get down, I get knocked down, but I get back up again. Singing along, you know it. It's from the 90s. So she got back in the saddle that day. It was hurt, it painful, it was whatever, but she sat in there and she walked around and she got back in the saddle because she knows that that's what is expected of her. But the perseverance came with that really shatters your mindset. It really shatters your confidence. You have a hard time when you fall up. She got back up. That was confident. But then showing back up week after week for the next following weeks. And we had a discussion. Do we let her quit? Do we not let her quit? And I was like, no. I went back to my old 1980s TV show, Top Gun, and I channeled Maverick. I literally said, here's the analogy. Ellie, you've watched Top Gun. When Goose died, they kept sending Maverick back up, and he would not ever re-engage in what he was supposed to do. But they kept sending him up. They persevered for him. And guess what? One day he engaged. He got through all the mental crap he needed to get. He got through the emotional crap he needed to get through, and he re-engaged. That's exactly how I viewed my daughter and her horseback. I give you all the grace in the world. You'll re-engage. You'll get back to cantering. And guess what? She did it. She did it in like 3 or 4 short lessons. Got back and persevered. So now I have taught my child how to persevere. Because my mom and dad chose to teach me how to persevere. So those are 2 little stories I wanted to share with you. You can tell me if you have some similar stories too, because I know you probably did. I know you probably do. All right. I have a Moms in the Middle group for people that were probably raised with parents just like mine. They want to do community together. We have aging parents. We have young kids. The link is in the description of this video. You'll want to get in there because nobody wants to do this alone. Because you know what? My mom and dad were probably doing it alone by sending their kid over and over and over to lessons. They chose to think differently. You need a whole community around you when you choose to think differently. All right. As we end every video, it's going to be a fun, silly joke because we all have kids and they're going to want a silly joke. Even if you have older kids, they're going to love a fun, silly joke. Your coworkers at work are going to love this joke. All right. So since yesterday was Tuesday, you all know it's my favorite Taco Tuesday. Here's the joke. How do robots eat salsa? And the answer is they eat it with microchips. Ta-da! Love that joke today. I love you all, and I will see you guys all tomorrow.